Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Talkin' Ruggers, the show where we talk ruggers with everyone involved in the game who isn't only a current professional player, from content creators and online coaches to pundits and even other podcasters. Essentially, everyone involved in bringing our beloved game forward into the 21st century. We'll be delving deeper into the details of their stories, giving you professional advice on how you can break into that industry within rugby and ultimately put the rugby world to rights. And this week we will be talking ruggers with one of the big dogs in the rugby social media game, if not the big dog. He had his professional career playing for the Ospreys cut short by injury, but didn't let that kill his passion for and involvement in the game. He was one of the first to pivot towards online coaching for rugby over COVID, and since then has upheld his forward-thinking mentality that's brought him to over 750,000 followers across platforms. He's worked with the best players in the world, been nominated for awards through his work, and been an unbelievably good bloke throughout. I honestly don't have enough time for all the good things I have to say about this fella, but as you can tell by the length of this episode, we really get into the depths of his story, the lessons he's learned along the way that have helped him become a better coach and might help you become a better player, how to master social media strategy, and of course, we put the rugby world to rights, but in a way you might not first expect. Of course, I'm talking about the Rugby Trainer, but today we're talking ruggers with the man behind the brand, Ben John. So Ben, for those who may not already know, which I doubt because you have such a big platform nowadays, but what is the Rugby Trainer in your own words?
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not great at selling what I do. So how would I say? I would say that my aim is just to try and inspire at least one person in every video I do just to pick up a rugby ball and whether get outside or down the park or whatever and just do something with the ball. And then my content then is that, but also if you do that, how can I make you better at doing that skill or playing rugby? So ultimately it's just to try and get someone, whatever age, to pick up a ball.
Yeah, that's what you do to inspire me every time. Every time I see your content, it's unreal because I feel like we both align in our coaching philosophies. It's just trying to get people to enjoy the game more. Ultimately, that's what it's all about, getting the ball in their hands and, helping people to improve so they have more fun.
Yeah, exactly. Me as a kid, I was lucky that, we were lucky that we came through an era where phones were just something to phone someone, whereas now it's obviously a different world. So, I was brought up where a punishment would be to go in the house. Whereas now a punishment is, you got to go outside and play, put the phone down or put the laptop or iPad down. So, it's just getting outside. So that's what I'm trying to do is just get people, out moving. And if they do that, can they do it with a ball in their hand just to enjoy the sport and just enjoy, just have a bit of fun and get used to being on your own or with your friends, throwing the ball around.
That is such a funny way of putting it. And so true as well. I'm sure we'll get around to talking about the depths of putting the rugby world to rights. But let's go back to the starting experiences for you, especially in rugby. What was your very first experience in the game?
So started rugby back in Swansea. So I grew up with football and cricket. Football and cricket are my main sports as a kid, and the rugby team started, I think I must have been 10 years old, and was that under 11s, year 6 in school. Yeah, local team, Lucha RFC, big shout out to Lucha. They started a team, and my brother, whatever my brother did, I would just try and copy. My brother was about 5 years older than me. Whatever he did, I followed. He played rugby, so I wanted to play rugby, and being a Welshman as well, it's in your blood. So started rugby up the club, and I was there literally every day since that first day being there until I was about 16, 17 when I started going to the academy, Osprey Academy. But at the beginning it was literally every day, whether it was on my own or with my mates. I was hanging around up a club. It was a community. So the biggest fondest memories is just sitting there in the club doing absolutely nothing, just talking nonsense with my mates. So that was probably big highlight for me as a kid. And then, grew through the ranks, went to Ysgol Gyfun Gwyren, a Welsh school, and they had a big rugby, not big rugby program, but they were known for having good teams. And we'd always punch above our weight. So we got to go to the Roslyn Park Sevens. I remember going to the Roslyn Park Sevens. It must have been year 7. or year 8 or whatever it was. And it was mind blowing seeing all these teams, seeing teams all dressed in the same, like they got these big overall coats and everyone's in
got the clobber.
tracksuits. We were like, oh my days, look at this. So yeah, that was good times playing against Eatons and whatnot. Amazing experience. And yeah, grew from there. I went to Swansea Schoolboys then, another big highlight, big honour of representation, getting selected for that. Yeah, not just the start of my career. Yeah, absolutely loved it. I can remember now some brilliant moments with my mates, and all those mates were lifelong friends from that.
The very traditional, classic sporting child by the sounds of things. At what point did you really start to narrow in on rugby? Because it sounds like you were playing all sorts of sports growing up.
Yeah, so yeah, my family's very sporty, but as a kid, literally anything that was on TV. Anything that was on TV, tennis. I didn't watch much TV, but anything that was on at the time, that was the buzz. Tennis could be. I remember watching Mighty Ducks. Me and my brother used to watch Mighty Ducks, and all of a sudden, then we were doing rollerblading, hockey down the local park. Got all the kit, rollerblades, hockey stick, and we were just like challenging local teams to play in us. But anything that was on TV, we were out. And you had the classic old games like Mob, Manhunt. You just every day we were outside running around. And luckily I lived in Swansea, where there's a lot of green, a lot of parks. So I lived next to a park as well. So we just spending all our life outside. And then, got to about 15 and I started doing athletics then as well. So, competed for Wales in athletics. Also, rugby was starting to pick up, that under 15 schoolboys. And then same with football. My father was a big footballer, so he was obviously loving me playing football as well. So I literally did everything. Anything I could do, I was outside running around playing. Literally, there was no time spare. Fair play to my parents, because not only I was like that, my sister was the same as well. So I had a sister who's Welsh gymnast as well. So she was doing that. My brother was doing his rugby stuff. So I don't know how they juggled it, but they encouraged us as much as we can just to play every sport and any sport. And got to about 15 when I realized, actually, I'm pretty decent at rugby. I was like a thin, tall string. So I started to realize, actually, I'm pretty athletic as well. I'm running, moving well. Rugby, the contact side, I'm getting better at. And my touch in football was getting worse because I think my legs were getting longer. So it's further away from my brain and my eyes. So, so I kind of had to decide to put football on hold. Because the nice thing in Wales, you had football on a Saturday, rugby on a Sunday, and I was the same all the way until 16. But then 16, your rugby changes then. When you got to youth, it dropped down to Saturday. So that was the time where I had to change, had to make the swap. Yeah, so it'd be about 16 years old. Yeah, had to cut football out of my life. Missed it.
The dreams of being Peter Crouch died at that point. The string bean footballer.
It was more Robbie Savage, just run around like a maniac, people up. Just smashing people up. 0 passes, but 15 tackles.
I was talking more from a physique point of view than anything else by the sounds of things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had quite the sporting upbringing. You said you competed for Wales in athletics as well. What events did you do?
Oh, I did high jump. So yeah, bit of high jump. Yeah, I think my record, unofficially, because this was in training, I did 190 at the age of 15. So 190, but in a competition, I did 185, which is pretty high. It's just, virtually jumping over myself now. I'm 193 now, so getting that height at that age was pretty decent. So that's why I think later on I absolutely loved high ball, because I'm 6'3", I can jump quite high. And my cricketing skills helped me as well. So the catching's element. So I was like, that's actually a nice little combination. So high ball skills was my skill.
It's crazy how it all ties together. Like, that's the advice that I know that you give out, much the same as me, for these young players, is just to stay in as many sports as possible. I remember speaking to Ellie Kildun about that and how she played football her whole life, and much the same as you by the sounds of things, had a quite tough decision to make about which direction to go down, because she had that talent with her feet, which she then translates into rugby as well quite well. But it's the same with like catching from cricket and hand-eye from tennis and footwork from tennis and stuff like that. You really pick up a range of skills to transfer really well into rugby.
Specifically rugby, because it has such a wide variation of skills. Like, just do as much as you can as a kid. Don't put too much pressure on it. Like, I played football. I was okay at football. I wasn't going anywhere, but I just loved it. Loved like running around with my mates. Cricket, love cricket. Yeah, I didn't play to try and get to play for England. I just played to absolutely love it. Just enjoyed it in the summer. But yeah, it's just play as much as you can, because rugby has a wide variety. You could just do powerlifting for if you were a kid, and then all of a sudden you'd be a world class prop. I don't know, but it just shows like a lot of sports can just help one another with rugby.
That is so true. And from what you're saying, it sounds like I'm almost the wish.com version of you, because I also did athletics at school. I did high jump too. Only have ever made it as far as county. Yeah, county representing Dorset in county athletics, and then obviously played rugby as well. Never quite made it as far as playing pro like you, which is hilarious. It just sounds like I was the almost guy compared to you, whereas you're living that dream.
I was going to say there's a smaller pool in Wales, so I could have been lucky that way, you know?
Don't put yourself down like that, mate. It sounds like you were, well, it's not even like you had the drive for it. I'm sure you did, don't get me wrong, like as many a kid do, but you almost just had the passion for it from a very young age. Like, it's not even passion, it's just what you enjoyed. It's just what you spent your time doing, which is very different to a lot of kids nowadays, I suppose.
Yeah, it's funny enough. I was thinking about this the other day. Somebody asked me about, bet you love watching rugby. And I'm like, to be honest, I love playing rugby. I love like getting the ball in my hand. I love playing any sport, just getting out there. But watching rugby, it wouldn't be up there with my top passions. No, because I'd rather be out there, ball in hand, throwing the ball around. Yeah, that's what I love more. And that's the passion. It's just like, that's why I started the Rugby Trainer, is because I absolutely love it. Even if no one watches my videos, I'd still be out there doing it. Just because I love it.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I suppose that kind of reflects in both of our content, because I used to be downstairs every Saturday and Sunday morning as soon as I could be. Like, you know, when you're a kid and your parents don't let you go downstairs until a certain time. I was there 7:30 every morning, rewatching every Six Nations match. I was inside just watching so much rugby. I'd always go and try and find on YouTube like the full length game. I watched the Waratahs versus Crusaders Super Rugby final from 2014, I think about 8 times, because I love watching Curtly Beale play. I just love watching the game and seeing it all unfold. And that's, I suppose, reflecting in my like somewhat analytical content side of things, whereas you're just so hands-on and so, yeah, practical skills all the time. It's so interesting how that reflects from such a young age.
Yeah, and going back to watching games, I had the 2005 Grand Slam tape, and I wouldn't watch it all. All I'd be watching is Gavin Henson and Tom Shanklin's highlights. I'd just be watching them as an individual. What are they doing? What are they doing? How are they hitting their lines? Tom Shanklin, one of the best line hitters. I'd be like, oh, how's he hitting that line now? So I wouldn't really care about the system. I would be like, what is he doing as an individual? And the same with Conrad Smith. I would just be watching him all the time. I won't watch a game. I just watch him. What's he doing? How's he moving? So I just love that side. And I'll be like, oh, that's what he's doing. Okay, I'll try it now when I'm playing touch down the park with my mates. Even as a Welshman, like Johnny Wilkinson, Dawson, that moment in 2003, I think me and my mates, even though we're Welsh and we probably wouldn't shout about us replicating the English greatest achievement, we would just replicate that all the time down the park, just going through it all the time. Like, I can even play in my head now just because we've done it such a long time. Dawson does that little dummy and goal and then boom, over the post. We do that all the time. It's just, we just love playing. And I was lucky as well that my group of mates were exactly like me, like play absolutely any sport. A lot of them were top level at those sports as well. I had a real good core mates around me. Guy Eli Walker played for Wales, serious athlete as a kid. Guy called Chris Banff, semi-professional rugby player. Another guy, Jamie George, incredible cricketer. So we just had a real good, and we're so competitive. We're always obviously real nice to each other, kind to each other. But as soon as it was a game, whatever it is, we were trying to win all the time, and that's quite fun. So, the memories back home, just outside all the time.
Different how people watch the game in different ways. Like speaking to so many rugby nauses nowadays. We had Squidge on the podcast the other week, and just I feel like we all watch the game in a very similar way. Like, I can even be in the stadium watching a game, which we're fortunate enough to do a lot of the time. And a lot of the time, I'm just there, like sat still quietly just watching, because I just love watching especially when you're live at a game, because the camera doesn't cut away, so you can just keep your eyes on the player that you're really interested in and just analyze what they're up to, and then you almost forget that the try is getting scored in the corner because you're just watching it away. And it's just interesting from an academic point of view how people watch the game differently. And that's another thing that interests me about you, because it sounds like your life was full of sport, especially even amongst your friendship group as well. But you've also now developed a business which requires a lot of academic skill. What was it like in the classroom for you? That sounds interesting to me, because you're obviously so eager to get outside all the time. Are you a good student at school?
Yeah, I think I was pretty decent. What did I have? I got all my GCSEs. Mid level, a lot of B's, a lot of C's. When the ace I had was in PE. Back then, PE was like 98% practical. And it doesn't matter. So I was just doing every sport, wherever it was, I was doing. And luckily, I did most of the sports at a decent level for that age as well. So, obviously, lunchtime then, it was full on game. We was doing a full on game against the year olders or the
World
year
Cup
youngers.
final.
It was wherever it was. Do you remember the game? Do you used to play World Cup Willies in partners? You and your mate would team up, and then you'd have against about 10 other pairs, and you play football. So if you score, they through to the next round. Oh, good times.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And my year in school as well. Like when I say my school government girls, the Welsh school in Swansea, because I went to a full Welsh school. So that's probably why I've got only a few. I got a small vocabulary in English, but. We had some serious athletes there as well. Sam Lewis, Worcester Warriors player. Ali Jenkins, you're older than me, played for Ospreys as well, professional. Guy's a couple of years older. We had an Olympian swimmer, Georgia Davis, she was class. We had a Commonwealth gymnast, all in the same year. We had a Welsh surfer. We had an incredible group of sports people in like a small little pocket. It was mad. And it just, obviously, we had David Cannell then, who was a professional goalkeeper, one of my best mates. It was ridiculous. And that's why I think we all did so well. And just because we were all pushing each other, we were all competitive, but also very positive as well. And the school did everything for us. Any sport that was on, doesn't matter what it was, any competition, they'd be like, do you fancy going to that sport competition? And I was like, is it during school time? Yeah, okay, I'll come. I'm there.
Oh my God, there's something in the water in Wales, because you hear about Sam Warburton and Gareth Bale going to the same school too. It's just little micro pockets. But then, as you said, I suppose it is a small place, so everyone's quite close to each other. But yeah, clearly so many people in and amongst you to get along with, to play sport with, and so many idols as well. Who are your top people that you used to look up to in terms of sport, not only in rugby, but just generally?
So I've got a few here. So, specifically in my area, when I say talent in my area, I'm Lucha, which is a small little village. And then the town which I'm nearby is called Gysainen. And then Gysainen then had maybe 5 or 6 Welsh players come through here. Dan Bigger played for Gysainen. Lee Halfpenny played for Gysainen. Eli Walker was another one. You had a couple more play professionals. We had a crazy, like Liam Williams, Sanjay lives down the road in Wanalwth. So we had such a pocket, that area, which is called District F. So many good players, just because there's not much else to do, mate. It was just either you play sport or you're, there's not much else to do. It's either football, rugby, and that's it. So, and obviously because there was so many good players in a small pocket, you're all pushing one another, and you're all, competing against one another, and you're inspired by one another. Like Lee Halfpenny is a couple of years older, and he was like the hero in our local area because he was so good at such a young age, and obviously with his with his caps, he was incredible. It was good to look up to him. But then as a kid, my heroes as a young kid, because I spent all my life at my local rugby club, it was my first team like players. There was a guy called Rory Saunders, played on the wing for Lucha first. There was a Scott O'Kelly in the centre. Yeah, you're just looking at those as your heroes, just because they're playing for the first team. And you're like, oh, one day I want to play against the first. I want to play against Gysainen. That was my aim. Can I play against Gysainen, which is like the local derby, as a young kid? And then we'd be playing on the pitch then after the game, and in the dead ball area as the game's going on. But then bigger than that, like my actual celebrity heroes or sporting heroes, as a centre, Conrad Smith and Brian O'Driscoll and James Hook. Those are my 3 heroes. And I said to James Hook, I was really lucky. He came back to Ospreys when he was towards the end of his career, and I said to him, I turned to him, we were down Bridge End training. I said, "Mate, you were my hero growing up, mate, and I'm so happy to play with you." Like, it's pretty cool. And a funny thing about Brian O'Driscoll as well, he played one of his last ever games, and I was starting opposite him. So I was just coming through. He was just finished. He was 13 for Leinster. I was 13 for Ospreys, and I got injured in 2 minutes in that game. Somebody hit me.
Of
my
course you did.
nerve. Oh yeah, nerve went to my back, and then boom, off the pitch. I was gutted, but I got 2 minutes. I tackled him. I'm happy.
Yeah, no way. You laid a finger
Yeah.
on him. That's unbelievable. I don't know if I do
Tackled him.
believe you, to be honest, because
Yeah,
that sounds, crazy.
I didn't say I completed it, but I made the effort.
That's all that matters in those certain situations. That's interesting though, because you mentioned like you're getting injured. I know you, well, I've known you a couple of years now, but I remember speaking to you about your injuries and things and the end of your career. Why don't you talk us through how your career came to quite an abrupt end?
Yeah, so I signed in the academy for Ospreys at 16. So I played for Wales 16, signed for the Ospreys. I then played my first professional game because at the time Ospreys were stacked. They had some unbelievable players. We had these called like the Welsh Galacticos. We had all the top dogs there in Wales. Shane Williams, Mike Phillips, Tommy Bowe came over. You had Jerry Collins, you had Marshall, you even had Ricky January come over for a short stint, Marty Haller in the back row, some incredible players. And my first ever game was 18-year-old, just turned 18, come on against a Leeds Carnegie, or maybe Yorkshire Carnegie at the time. And I came on as a centre or as a wing, but one of our flankers got yellow carded, so I had to cover in the flank. And number 8 was Jerry Collins. So that was a pretty cool moment because I didn't have a clue where I was sticking my head or shoulder in the scrum, and he had to tell me where to go. He's like, "Go there, mate, and push, head down and push." So that was a cool moment. Yeah. So 18-year-old, under 20s, then Wales 20s, got to go to Argentina World Cup, which was mad, playing against an incredible New Zealand side. You know, like that famous New Zealand young side that virtually all played for the All Blacks. We were up against them.
Oh God.
Our claim to fame was we were the closest, like, score margin against them. It was still 40 points, but it was close.
My God.
They were unbelievable. Yeah, Julian Surveyor, first half, 3 tries, and then he came off half time then. So, unbelievable.
Save the legs.
Save the legs, mate. We'll save it. But that was cool. So under 20s, and then after that, then I just had a string of injuries. They used to call me the nickname for me One Game. So one good game, and then I'd get injured. So straight away from the under 20s, I broke my scaphoid in my hand, and it took ages to heal because it was such a tricky thing to heal because it didn't heal properly. So I had complications of that. So I was a few months out with that, and then you get to Christmas, and then you've only got a few months left.
Yeah, right.
So I did that every year. I was just always picking up little injuries here and there. I remember Philo Tia. I broke my hand just before just one of the last days of pre-season. Broke my hand, and we were meant to go to Lyon to play them. I remember Philo Tia saying, "Oh mate, you seem to pick up quite a bit of injuries. Are you resting enough?" And I thought to myself, no, you're probably right there, because literally I was so obsessed.
Yeah, right.
As a youngster, I was going home from training and I was going to the gym and doing more in the gym as soon as I went home. So I was just constantly training because I just thought I needed to do more and more to try and get better and better. And then after he said that, then I was like, oh, actually, I need to look at this and need to trust what the S&C coaches are doing. And I need to just actually value rest and value recovery. And that's something I massively learned as I was coming through, that 22-year-old trying to push. And my body just kept on breaking. So that recovery was something that, I needed to respect more.
It's an interesting balance to find between optimizing and maximizing. Like, it's such a fine, faint, like undistinguishable line at times, because especially as a young player, when you're coming up, I know that I was the same, wanting to maximize absolutely everything. And in my world, it resorted to like obsessive compulsions beyond like things that I could even control, especially around kicking. Like, there's only so much you can do, like in terms of ingraining your process. And reading Johnny Wilkinson's book was a revelation to me, because it really gave me insight into someone else's mind that was kind of like I was growing up. Of course, he took it to another level, and that really was his point of difference, I suppose. All these like curses can be blessings if you use them correctly. But yeah, when you go down the route of trying to maximize every possible thing, sometimes in my case, it can lead to some like mental health issues with the OCD, or in your case, physical, literal issues. And it's really hard to find that balance between that because you're so paranoid about not making it. How do you help people in those situations? I'm sure you chat to a lot of lads who are trying to pursue those dreams.
Yeah, I think looking back at my career now, I think if I was to start again, say I was 21 and I became a professional rugby player, I think I'd invest in a sports psychologist. I think just to, because you train your body, why not train your mind as well? That's something that we kind of neglect. And it doesn't mean everyone thinks the sports psychologist, oh, something must be wrong if you've got a sports psychologist, but no, I should flip it on its head. You go to the gym because you want to get better, stronger, and push yourself. Same with psychologists. You hire a psychologist that can help you train your mind into thinking a certain way, or seeing things in different points of view, and dealing with pressure, or dealing with setbacks, or even just when you're on top of your game. How do you mentally stay on top of your game? How do you be in the moment? I saw a video with Federer, and he said he lost. Was it? I think he won 51% of all his points. So it just shows how
Yeah.
close it was from being, and all he had to say to himself is whatever he's doing right now, he has to be in the moment. How quickly can he just, I think Djokovic said something similar, is how a great player is someone who can always be present in every moment. Doesn't matter what's happened, if you've scored a try or if you've missed a tackle, should always just be present in that moment. And then you can always give your best in that moment then.
It's interesting you say that because I almost overthink overthinking. You know, I get so caught up in thinking my way into and out of problems. And I then wonder whether you look at some rugby players and you think, blimey, there's nothing going on between your ears. Like you are just an absolute machine out there flying around, just doing exactly what you're told like a dog. And it's like, do you think that sometimes, because you mentioned like getting a sports psychologist, like some players would think, I don't need one of those. I just sort of turn up and play rugby. What do you reckon the balance is between overthinking and underthinking these things?
It's up to you, really. It depends what you want,
Yeah,
what you
it's so
value
individual.
as well. Yeah, it depends what you value, and yeah, if you feel like you're doing well at the moment, that's brilliant. But yeah, continue doing that. So yeah, I would look into it because I feel like it would help my game for sure. It would have helped me. Not only in rugby, it probably would help you massively outside as soon as you finish. It's those parts of the game as well. Rugby is only a short career. You finish, if you're lucky, you get to 34 retired, and then after that, then you've got hopefully 60 years of your life. And those little things that you might pick up in that sports psychology type of setting can massively, because the values of what I've learned from rugby has massively helped me in my business now, and that's just doing what the rugby values offer, like being in a team, getting feedback, showing up however you feel consistently every day. So getting back up on your feet, get back in line, whatever happened. So it's just those rugby values that has helped me now. So imagine adding a sports psychologist now of how you think as well. I think that will help massively.
I think that's a brilliant answer because, yeah, I feel like I'm focusing so much on performance in those 80 minutes. And that probably tells you a lot about the differences in our playing careers and why you're in a bit more of a professional environment than I've ever been in, because there's so much surrounding it. You're in camp a lot of the time, you're training so much, and having that right mentality to keep ticking over essentially Sunday through Friday so that you're in the right place come Saturday is actually more important than just being in the right place on Saturday. You know, it's, yeah, such an interesting way of looking at that.
Yeah, well, I was one of those who would have one game and then a few weeks off because I had to recover from an injury. So, but yeah, imagine going back to back, like the players now. God, they're putting some shift in, and there's a lot of rugby on at the moment. So fair play to them.
Especially the rate of the collisions at the moment. Like, it's ridiculous. People don't get any smaller. They just keep on
Yeah.
getting bigger and bigger. Even in like the smaller, relatively speaking, positions, they're still getting pretty powerful.
Yeah, some kids that I'm coaching now are absolute monsters. And like they could be 15, 16 years old and they've been 2 years in the gym. And I was like, mate, when I was 16, I was max benching 30 kilos. Like, what's going on? These guys are absolute monsters. And some of the girls as well. Some units coming through.
Yeah. Since I've been out here in Australia, in Melbourne out here, there's a big Polynesian culture around the rugby in particular. And my goodness me, these kids are, you have to check their passports because you're like, no way, you are 16 years old. You're almost twice as big as me, lad. Like, they're huge. And it's just, I suppose with the professionalism of the sport in particular, the understanding around the science of it, but also the accessibility to like gyms, more or less. Like everyone's going to have that point of difference now. Rugby is becoming far more athletic, in my opinion, whereas the difference between league and union, obviously, like league is so oriented around athleticism because there's no scrum, there's no need for unnecessarily large people. Of course, in the power sense, 100% in terms of carrying off each set of six. But in rugby union, there's always been that space for, all body shapes and sizes. But even the props nowadays are
It's like
powerful
Genge.
people.
Oh my days.
Exactly. They're not fat props anymore. They are all athletes in every sense of the word. People have been debating that arguably props in rugby are the most athletic people and position in the entirety of sport. I've seen that debate online somewhere, even amongst like tennis players and stuff. Like if you've got a tennis player against a prop in terms of bench, like they'd still have good footwork, relatively speaking, a prop, but they'd smash them in the bench press. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole
And
thing
usually
online.
the 10 meter times are usually rapid as well because it's so powerful, so quick off that mark. Yeah, that's interesting because imagine being a prop. Imagine pushing a serious amount of weight and then you have to get up, get around the corner and make a little decision on whether you're tipping or pulling the ball back. So I think the interesting thing about the props is learning to have a switch of can you fire yourself up in a second just to hit a scrum and then can you then be composed coming around the corner and lose that mentality of trying to rip someone's head off by just coming on the corner, and then you have to have soft hands. It must be so hard just to switch in and out of that skill.
And that's proper rugby, that's what rugby actually is. When I play like fly half and I'm just pulling the strings, like playing chess, trying to navigate my team around the pitch, like using the pawns of the props in the right places, put the bishop in the right channels, that's great. But you forget that those lads are still catching, tipping, rocking. Like I remember the last time I hit a breakdown. I don't have to worry about those skills where these lads are flying around the pitch after hitting a scrum where we've just been twiddling our thumbs talking about what move we're going to knock on. They're there, ready to go and pack down against some mutants and rip into it. It's actual proper rugby, that.
Yeah, it's fair play. Incredible. It's interesting, isn't it? Like it's about being able to transfer it over to games because something I was good at is I wasn't strong in the gym at all. I always used to come last in the 10-meter sprint. And I just couldn't. I was just like getting so frustrated. I was like, I'm the slowest back here. What's going on? But on a pitch, then I felt way quicker than what I was. In my head, I'd be like, if this was a pitch scenario, I'd back myself to be as quick or quicker than some of these players. But they just always used to smash me in any testing. I just didn't know I just always used to get frustrated. That was one thing that used to bug me is how in tests I was so poor in the gym and 10 meters. But on a game scenario, I just felt like I was way stronger, way more powerful, way quicker. Yeah, and that's something I always used to be like, come on, I need a good test time. I need a good test. And then I would end up being a slower. So I'm like, nah. So something that used to frustrate me quite often.
That's so interesting, though, because people always obsess over their Bronco time quite a lot. And in reality, if you're fit, you're fit. If you find your way into certain positions on the park, then that's all that really matters at the end of the day. If you feel fast on the pitch and you're making line breaks, who cares what your 10 meters per second is? But that's the end of your playing career, I suppose. How did you then transition from that to where we are today as the rugby trainer? I briefly interrupt this episode of Talking Ruggers as I'm delighted to announce it is brought to you by Harry Wright of Train Right Performance, an experienced strength and conditioning coach that specializes in bringing elite level S&C to the wider rugby community. Long gone are the days of chest and tries and back and buys, as Train Right Performance is for rugby players that want to gain an edge in their performance in the gym and on the pitch. You can check them out on Instagram at Train Right Performance. That's Train Right with a W Performance on Instagram, or have a look at their website, www.trainrightperformance.co.uk. That's train right with a W, performance. Thank you so much for your support, Harry. I know you've been listening to the podcast since the first episode, so it's great to have you backing here, and hopefully you guys get behind him too, because the service they offer is second to none. But without any further ado, let's get straight back to the episode. Thank you.
Yeah, so I did actually retire 26, so I forgot to talk about that. I retired 26 due to concussions. I had a few concussions, and then I just thought, right, I need some time out. It took me a while to recover from it. And in that time, I was like, right, my contract was up, so I moved to London, started becoming a personal trainer. And I didn't fully retire. Then a year went past and I made the decision then to retire. So yeah, I was in personal training in London, and yeah, again, I love the coaching side. Really enjoyed it. I was with some amazing people, because the gym I was in was run by an ex-MMA fighter, ex-professional, and it was a lot of the guys there. It was all men at the time. They were all ex-professionals at something, which was cool. So we had that camaraderie, and there's a couple of Welsh lads there, which I knew. Yeah, we went in there. And do you know the feeling of going into a change room with your mates in rugby, and even though they care for you, they'll just get stuck into you. And you feel like, yeah, I like that. You just keep me grounded. I like that. So we all had that mentality. But then when we trained, we always used to have like a Friday we used to call it Friday Throwdown. We had everyone come together. We'd invite people in, and we knew as soon as it was game time, as soon as it was time to train, boom. And we know everyone there was competing against each other, trying to beat each other, trying to push each other. I just loved that environment. And then soon as the session was done, boom, we're all shaking hands, best mates again. And it was a really cool environment. So yeah, it was called Manor London. And I spent 4 years in Manor. Amazing. I made my way up to be the head coach there. Absolutely loved it. And it was cool. I got to program all the training there. We had a couple of different sites across London, manage a few of the PTs that were helping the sessions. And then lockdown happened. Lockdown kicked down. When I finished rugby, I was like, I don't want to do anything with rugby anymore. I've had enough of it, because I retired early, and I felt like I didn't get out of it what I wanted. My whole goal was to play for Wales, and whether I wasn't good enough at the time, or what, but yeah, I just obviously didn't perform enough to get the call up. So I had a bit of sour taste. I was like, I don't want to do anything with rugby, but I love coaching. And luckily London has got no rugby at all. So it's all football orientated. It was away from rugby. So I had 4 years away from rugby, and then lockdown happened then. And everything went online. So the Manor team put together an online training program for everyone to follow. So I had a lot of spare time. And I started watching what people were doing online to try and encourage people to train and kids to train. And a lot of it was like, do this press up, do these sit-ups and whatever. And I just thought to myself, I would not be doing that as a kid. I would not be doing press-ups as a kid. What I'd be doing is getting a ball in my hand, and I'd be driving my mum and dad nuts by throwing the ball around, doing some skills in the house if I couldn't get outside, challenging my brother to a game of like on your knees rugby, trying to score beyond that line or whatever, just doing all rugby stuff. I wouldn't be doing press ups. So I decided to do a video, a couple of live sessions in the next 20 minutes. Follow these things if you're a young rugby player, and follow these tricks and do them in the house whilst trying to make it fun, but also active as well. And got a massive pickup from it. So a lot of people asked for more and more. And then I had Ospreys message me saying, can I do a live on their platform? Which is amazing. And at the same time, Ashley Beck and Reese Webb reached out and asked, can I help them with some coaching as well? Because they had an online rugby academy at the time called 912. So they asked me, do I mind doing what I'm doing, but for them, doing some live sessions? I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, because I've got loads of time. So started doing that. And then lockdown 1 finished, which was, what was that, August 2020.
Yeah.
And then obviously I had to go back to my full-time job then, which was starting to bring people into the gym, and I couldn't manage the time. So I kind of had to cancel 9-12. I had to cancel that, but then I still hang on to the rugby skills stuff. And then I had to make a decision then. My wife was like, oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to do the personal training, or do you want to do, do you want to do your rugby stuff? And I was like, I had that thirst back. I had that love and passion back for skills. I had the ball back in my hand. I was doing what I love, throwing the ball around. I did some research then. I was like, "What? Who's actually doing this in rugby? Is there anyone doing anything in rugby?" Because as a personal trainer in London, it is very competitive market. So I had to learn
Yeah,
social
right.
media to try and get clients. So I did a lot of research, did a lot of courses on social media to try and grow my presence and try and get. So I got to about in a year, I got to about 5,000 followers on Instagram through just personal training stuff. So I was like, well, okay, I kind of got an idea of what I need to do. And I did some research about who's doing things out there in rugby, and Rugby Bricks, the OG. He was the only
I was
one
going to
doing it.
say, yeah, because I remember Peter Breen was doing that back in, it must have been like 2020 he started. Well, yeah, around
Mm,
COVID times. And I remember watching his original content and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I was saving all the
yeah.
videos, having a great time, like learning so much from it right back at the start.
Yeah, exactly. So I looked at, he was doing that and I was like, wow, okay, what other sports are doing it? And in football and basketball and American football, it looked like they were 5 years ahead. There was so many individual skills coaches doing it. And I was like, wow, this is a cool opportunity. So my wife sat me down and we just brainstormed, because that's her. She's a brand graphic designer, strategist. I don't know what the title is. I should know. But she sat me down. We had a strategy session and we came up with the name, the Rugby Trainer, because the rugby coach was already taken. So the Rugby Trainer, and then everything was lined up because of the Rugby Trainer URL, and everything was all there for me. We based it on the body coach, because ultimately, no one at the beginning, no one really cares who I was as Ben John.
Yeah. Yeah.
They follow a brand and they follow a face. So we're like, right, we need something catchy. The Rugby Training's catchy, and that's it. We'll just push that. So yeah, I made a decision. I was like, right, okay, I can. I've got all my online personal clients as well, like a PT that can cover my costs. So I still had all that, and I just started to do the Rugby Trainer. Then just more videos and see what came from that. One of my PT clients, Alex, he was a I don't even know his role for me. He's just Mr. Everything. That's what I call him, Mr. Everything. He just does everything for me, helps me with everything. He does a lot of like social media marketing, brand marketing. And I asked, can he help me out? And he was like, yeah, I'd love to work with you. Yeah. And from there, we just took one step at a time. And I used to run a run club in Manor. And because I love just being active, my aim was, if one person turns up, I am happy, because one person's come running with me. But if some weeks no one turned up, but again, I'm happy because I can run on my own. I can still be out there active. So that grew then to be quite a big run club. As I left, Matt kept it going and took it on. So I had the same mentality with my content. It was like, well, if this helps one person, happy days, as long as it helps one. So every video I made was, can I help one person? And I know anything more than that, then it's a plus. It's something on top, because at the end of the day, I love being outside throwing the ball around. So I was lucky in that way.
Yeah. They say it takes years of work to be an overnight success. And not to suggest that this has just been pounced on you out of the blue, but you can see how all these different paths from such a young age of just loving throwing a ball around, being active and outside, passing all the way through your professional career, acquiring all this knowledge and skills around rugby specifically, and then through, I mean, unfortunate injuries, having to retire, but then taking you down a new path of personal training and learning the game of that. Also, fortunately, by the sounds of things, meeting some great people along the way, not only in the sporting sense, but also your partner is a great business partner in the whole process as well. And then leading you all the way through the social media game as well. And you can see how all this story just leads you to the position you're in now with this incredible platform, helping more than just one person every single day. But it comes down to that, doesn't it? Because that's what Joe Wicks always speaks about, is he just wants to help one person. If you can help one person with a video, I think everyone in the social media space especially is so centered around being so big and I want to get to 1,000 followers, I want to get to 100,000. But in reality, a coaching point of view, it's just like, no, if this can help someone get better and enjoy life more, then that's our whole point of all this story.
Yeah, like a good way to represent what I do and why I like it is, if the Rugby Trainer collapsed, the business collapsed tomorrow, Would I be doing exactly what I'm doing? Absolutely. I'd be outside throwing the ball around, doing training or whatever. Even if it's coaching, I'd still be doing it because I love it. So I would probably just start again. I think the tools that I've picked up from my rugby career and as a kid. So luckily, as a kid, my dad was big at cricket. And when we were younger, me, my brother, my sister, as from a young age, he would take us down the park with a tennis racket and tennis ball. And we would just be playing, catching. He virtually treat us like dogs. We'd just be chasing tennis balls, catching them, getting it back to him. But reflecting back on that, what I've learned from that is we had a habit of going down the park and doing something, even though at the time it was really fun and we loved it. It was just a habit of going down the park, working on something. And we did that at least 3 times a week, working on our skills. And then as I got to about 13 years old, I started doing that on my own because the habit was already there. The habit was there going down the park. But then obviously I was more specific to rugby or football at the time. So I was down the park working on my own. And just that habit building. And when I got to about 15, of Christmas time, all I had was a couple of rugby balls, and that was it. That's my Christmas present. That was just Christmas Day then down the park, do my own thing. Yeah, and that's massively helped me, not only in my rugby career because I was getting those reps in, but now after it's the habit, the ability to firstly learn quickly as well, because I'm practically doing things all the time. Yes, I do a little bit of research, but I learn best by just doing it. And if I mess up, I'll just adjust things. Look at what I did and just keep doing that. And that's what's helped me now with learning how to edit, learning how to film the settings, learning how to deal with social media. The business and the finance stuff is something I'm really struggling with because it's actual data, and I'm quite poor at that, sitting down reading numbers. So I find that very tricky. So I'm trying to learn my best at that. But all the practical stuff I learn just by trying it out. Like I love cooking now. Oh, like at the moment, the kitchen is my little hub. I'm like, I can't wait to like cook and just do things because I've just been obsessed by watching videos and then just trying it out, watching videos, trying it out. And I think that all stems back from being a kid, going down the park and just getting into a habit of trying skills out and just working on myself and people around me helping.
People always debate the difference between motivation and discipline. Like motivation is doing things because you feel like it, whereas discipline is what you do despite how you feel. But I think the real core of this with you and your story is a third section of this where everything you're doing doesn't feel like work at all. If you can find something that you just genuinely, wholeheartedly enjoy so much that you don't need any motivation, you don't need to remain disciplined, it's just what you do because you love doing it, then that's going to be a recipe for success all the time because you're always going to be doing something that's fun. You know, you're never going to be stressing about it. If you just feel like you want to go and just chuck a ball around, then keep on doing that. Keep on enjoying what you're doing. And if anything, really hone in on that because for some people, that's not going to be rugby. For some people, it might be something else. And you feel like you're being forced down that path. Or maybe it is rugby. You know what I mean? Like it's just find that thing that you really enjoy so you never feel like you're working a day in your life, I suppose.
Yeah, I think if, for example, rugby stopped tomorrow, I think it's being able to do what it's like the freedom of it. It's being able to like, okay, today I can go outside and film, and then tomorrow then I can work on my editing. So having the freedom to, even though I work hard, I can still have the freedom to do various different things. And that's what I like is the variability of my job. I'm not doing the same thing all the time, even though I do like structure, but I do like having the ability to do various different creative things. And I think that is what I love as well. Like if I look at my wife she's a savage. She works her hours are long and she works really hard. Whereas she, like 1 second I'll be working and the next second then I'll be watching The Office for a little bit or maybe going for a walk or whatever. And I think I work hard in like pockets. Like I'll work hard for an hour and then I'll just try and switch off and go for a walk or whatever to try and be creative, try and give myself some space. Because I've been reading, I forgot his name, but this guy, and he just talks about stop becoming comfortable being bored, just because we're never bored anymore. Because if you have spare time, you're on your phone, and it doesn't allow you to think of things and think things over and reflect, but also have ideas. And that's helped me recently for sure.
Is it TJ Power that you've been reading?
Oh, TJ Power. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, the old dopamine effect or dose effect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you been reading him?
yeah, because he talks about, well, that's what I've been reading recently, just around exactly that, being bored and where that creativity comes from. Because made a mistake, as much as I'm saying, I know you love what you're doing, and especially working in sport and specifically the sport you love so much, but it doesn't mean there's not hard work along the way. There are things and parts of your job, like you mentioned about the admin and the finance side of things, which are long, tedious, and boring. So, can you paint a picture for those people at home who only ever see the end outcome of the content that you produce or the sessions that you run, and paint a little picture of those of the things that are actually in your mind less enjoyable about your job? Of course, I'm sure there's still a blessing in all those things, but things that you struggle with perhaps on a daily or weekly basis.
Ooh, what I struggle with. So one of the biggest struggles I had at the beginning of the transition from rugby to working life was communicating. That was one of them, and then I'll talk about the communication in a second. But also structure. Like all my life, I've been told what to do, when to do it, and this is what you need to do. All you got to do is show up and express yourself. All right. And I found that really difficult because I had no one telling me what to do. And like I would go, I'm one of those, I go rogue, as in I would start doing something over here and then I'd be like, oh, actually, I like that idea. Because even my conversations are like that. I'm a bit sporadic with where I go. So yeah, I found that was difficult. And that's why I asked Alex to help me, is because, mate, I was like, right, every Monday, I want you to sit down with me and we're going to plan my week. We're going to set goals every week. And by Friday, I'll deliver those goals to you, because I'm very good at executing. Whereas the planning side, I find very difficult. So that's why I asked you before the chat about what you do to schedule everything, because I'm like, oh, interesting. What can you use? What hacks have you got for me?
Yeah.
So yeah, the scheduling was hard, and Alex massively helped me with that. It kept me accountable, kept me in line with my brand as well. Because as I said, 1 minute I like to say yes to things as well. I like to help people out, and sometimes I say yes, and it's taking me over here, and I'm like, well, no, this is what we want to do here. This is what we're building here. This is taking your energy somewhere else. So the scheduling is something I'm improving on and still need to work at. But the communication is tough at the beginning, because my way of expressing how I feel is through movement and through, at the time, was rugby. So if I was feeling annoyed, feeling happy, I'll just express that on a rugby pitch. If somebody was doing my head in, I'd express that on a rugby pitch. Whereas that was taken away. So I'll internalize everything. I didn't have that outlet. And I started doing like challenges then. I'm a bit too tight to pay for challenges, like doing a marathon or something. So I would just start running a marathon just on the street. And it got to a point where I run a marathon, rode a marathon, and cycled a marathon to try and do as fast as I can. And it got after that, Christy was like, Ben, this is getting a bit silly now. Just because like you're doing it, it's not an event that you're doing. It's kind of like just doing it. So I was like, yeah, you're right. I need to look at why I'm doing this, and realize that it's because I don't speak about how I'm feeling. And that was something I found difficult, because I'm not used to doing it. I didn't have the words to express how I felt. I remember doing an event, and people were talking about these emotional words, and I had to put my hand up. I was like, sorry, I haven't got a clue what you're saying. The words that you're saying have no meaning to me. I can't feel the words that you're saying, just because I've never associated a word with a feeling, because I've never had to. I've just had to express myself. And that's something I've been really working on. And like now, yeah, my wife and I, we communicate a lot. We're really good now at chatting. Any issues or anything, we'll chat. Anything that's going well, we'll chat. How's our day? So we always make time to make sure we're chatting, talking. Yeah, and that's something that's helped me with my work as well, with the relationship with Alex. Because like I said, I like to just do, and then down the line, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to tell Alex I'm doing these things. Oh, so so I always have to check myself. So the communication is a tough part, and then the scheduling is two areas that I'm continuing my work, because of now I'm doing a lot more not presenting, but reading scripts. Like I find like that difficult as well. Like reading, I find it very tough.
It's a skill.
Yeah. So I've hired a public speaking coach. Big shout out to Charlotte. The last 3 or 4 years, she's helped me because everything I've done is talk about skills previously, and I love like doing skill stuff. I've done it since I was a kid. Even when I played for Ospreys, after a team session, 10 minutes with another player, me and another player would be just doing skill work, and I love it. So I can talk about that all day. But whereas when I'm starting to talk about other things that brands and partners want me to talk about, I'm like, shit, what do I do here? So I have to read scripts. And then when I read scripts, I can't memorize them at all. So I've had a public speaking coach to help me with the delivery because I get stiff then when I start reading things. So that's been a massive help. So I try to reinvest a lot into making myself better at areas that will help my business. But again, everything I've talked about is not massively an issue because, as I said, I'm lucky. And I think we're lucky as well that rugby now has opened its arms to social media. And I've been so lucky that I hit it at the right time as well. Like I was lucky in 2020, I was a little bit earlier than everyone and I caught the boom. And it's grown. So I've been really lucky with the rugby community as well. And the community is very open as well. Like, OJ, like if you message me and be like, oh, Ben, blah, 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 blah. Do you know anyone in this field? I'll be like, yeah, I know Dave over here. Dave, have a chat with Dave. We're very open and encouraging to help one another as well. And I found that in the rugby community. That's why it's so special. We're open to helping one another. And that's been a massive help for me as well. It's just open arms. We want to see everyone else do well because it grows our game. Because I found in the personal training space, it's quite competitive. Like, oh, I just want to help you because you're my competition. Whereas I always used to see it as, from a rugby background, is no, I want to help you because if you get bigger, the sport gets bigger. So how can we grow it? And it's enough people for everyone. Gosh.
Indeed. And it's not often just this or that society that we live in. It's oftentimes a this and that society. Like if people scroll and see one of your videos on social media, they're not going to swipe off and shut their phone. They're going to carry on going. And if they can then find mine, and everyone helping each other out means that the game grows, which means as a whole, everyone else grows. It's like a, symbiotic relationship in that sense. It's just like the individuals help the whole. And that's a great community that we live in. And within that community in your life, it sounds like you've got a unbelievable wife who's, helped you through a whole lot of other things, especially around that communication piece. Like it's tough, especially in a rugby environment where I feel like people, mistake rugby players potentially as like not expressing their emotions. They don't talk about, and perhaps they don't, but you are right. Like it doesn't mean they're not expressing them at all. It's just through a different medium than most people are used to. And that's led to a lot of success in your life when you just practically action things. You don't worry about just chatting through, you just get on with the work and you crack on. And that's led to some pretty cool things. Along that journey, Ben, what is your proudest achievement, would you say, in your work sense? I'm sure you've got plenty outside of it, but from a rugby trainer point of view, what is the thing that you think about and you know what, like I'm really happy that I did that?
Oh, proudest achievement. Yeah, I've got a few. So first one, I would say being asked by England Rugby to help them with their online skills content. That has been incredible. And England have been amazing to me to allow me to share my skill stuff with their audience, specifically because I'm Welsh as well. So that's been incredible.
How does that feel when you do that?
It's because I live in England now. It's it's fine. It's at the end of the day, it's exactly what I love doing, and being able to do it on England's platform is amazing. And I get access to some of the. I've learned, my job as a skills coach, being able to go around all the players, same with you, like picking up little things, because our body shapes are so different. No one person's got the same body shape. So skill can be adapted ever so slightly to every different person. And it's so interesting going around all the different players, all the different coaches, chatting to them. Everyone teaches it slightly different. So it just shows that like when you said about social media flicking through, like somebody might watch my stuff and be like, nah, that doesn't relate to me on passing, and then flick through and then they see yours and like, oh, actually, I'm going to take that because I relate to that and that helps me. I've tried it. And so it just shows that even a passing skill as simple as that can be taught in various different ways. Anyway, I've digressed. Where was I? I was RFU. That was a proud moment. Another moment was, tell you what I love is seeing some of the players in my academy achieve goals that they've set out as well. That's something cool, because the academy that I run it is a process, because it's do 10 minutes twice a week and do it for the next 2 years. So I don't see goals in the goals they've reached in 2 years' time. So some of the players 2 years down the line, they come out and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I've just been able to do this, this, and this. I've been selected for that, that, and that. And seeing that is pretty cool, because we all remember those teachers back in school that's like stand in our mind that like helped us. And it's quite cool to be on the other side of that as well. Like some of my teachers back in school, I can remember exactly what they said, and that's helped me in my rugby career. And it's quite cool to be a small part of a kid's journey that way. And similar what you do, mate. It's like somebody asked me what's success, and I think success for me, and maybe same with you, is in 20 years' time, how cool would it be to bump into someone on the street and be like, "Oh, Jay, I used to watch your stuff. Oh, mate, it used to help me so much back in the day. I loved it." And that is success. I know it's a long way away, but that's something that's going to last us a lifetime, which is cool. And that's what's cool about social media as well. We're trying to improve people, but in 34 years' time, your mug is still going to be on social media, teaching kids, and a 4-year-old girl or a man or woman can come up to you and be like, "Oh, Jay, when you're 60, you helped me, mate." That's cool. That's success.
That's what it's all about, genuinely helping people. And that's where, linking back to what you're saying about the rugby community, I feel like the heart of most of the people is in the right place. We all actually just care about the game. We just want people to enjoy life a little bit better. We're not really in it for our own reward. And I think that reflects in a lot of people's content. You know, you see people just genuinely giving without any sort of expectation of return, because it's just, you're doing so much for other people. Like I think back to skill sessions that I've given to lads, especially kickers. And, it's great to see them just actually getting better, going out and doing things on the pitch. And because I remember what I was like when I went to my first school of kicking session with Tony Yap, and I walked away from that and I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I feel great now. And I went to training and I kicked better. And I was like, oh my God, I actually really enjoy this a lot more because I'm just a little bit better at it. It's interesting how that goes hand in hand. Being good at something does often correlate with enjoying it a bit more. And yeah, especially through social media, you can help so many people in that sense, because the reach reaches so far and wide. And on that theme then, with social media, you do so well at it, mate. Give us a little bit of an insight, without giving away all the secrets, of how you strategize and execute your strategy to grow. What are your core principles?
So any video I do has to have 3 things. It has to be inspiring, has to be educational, and it has to have my personality. And those are the 3 things. Every video I do has to have those 3. Specifically on Instagram. TikTok is a bit rogue. It's a mad platform, so it's a bit more raw. But yeah, on Instagram, those 3 things, just because no one can replicate my personality. We're all different. Educational, because that's my fundamental aim, is to make you better. And inspirational, another value is I want to get you to get the ball in your hand. So it has to have those 3 things. And that's my core then. It's how can I play around, because teaching someone how to pass with content, you can do it so many different ways. You can do video format, you can do it breaking their skill down, you can showcase a pro doing it. So there's probably about 10 different formats on one skill that you can do. But then also you can break down the skill even further. You can go into the micro part of the skill and be a lot more detailed. So honestly, a lot of people ask me, do I schedule everything? The big contents I do schedule. I have a rough idea of when things go out, but some of the stuff is off the cuff, so you have to allow that as well, scheduling that in. It'd be interesting now to see where social media goes, because a lot of countries now are banning under 16s. So I've got an idea on that, about how we can get the parents about this is the skills that you can help you improve. So it's obviously strategizing that, because I see that is where the world is going, because for the good, to be fair, I'd like to see it under not being able to be on social media. I think that's good, even though my business is helping youngsters. Ultimately, you want youngsters just to go outside and throw the ball around. So, it's just changing the strategy for that, and they'll be more directed towards parents then, so the parents can show their kids. But yeah, the social media stuff, it's a lot of at the beginning, because you're in a team environment, it's a lot of can you put your ego aside and just put things out there that you believe in, and not worry about your teammates going, OJ, mate, you on social media yesterday, that sort of stuff. So that's the hard part, is can you allow your ego and allow it to be fired at and shot at by your teammates, and just place things out there that you feel that represent you and also help people that if obviously that's your field, is the educational field, if that's the field that you work in, anyone watching. So yeah, that is obviously a lot more to it than that, but yeah, it's just trial and error, learn from each post and do research on other things. A lot of my Instagram is I've literally hid virtually loads of other things, and all I see is golfers Instagrams, not like actual pro golfers, just creators, golfers creators, rugby creators, football creators, all sport creators. And then like got the dude perfect and stuff, and just get inspiration from them, because if it works in golf, it'll work in rugby. It's just the format's the same, but the content's different. So that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from, is just turning my social media into a research platform. Yeah.
You give it so much forethought. It's such a delight to hear that come out of your brain. I can just see it so clearly. And it's the balance between like the technicality and the mentality. Like you have the technical side of things where like even strategizing into the future of these potential like macroeconomic shifts of banning underage, which I think is, yeah, with you on that. I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing in the world, especially looking at the upbringing that you've had with being out and about. And go back to the start of our conversation, it was a punishment to be brought back inside, which is just hilarious to think about how the world's changed nowadays. But yeah, understanding the technical side of things like that in a macro sense, but also the micro of how social media works. Like, of course, video format is heavily what's pushed with the birth of TikTok and scrolling and doom scrolling in that sense, where video format is what's going to help you grow and reach the most number of people. But then leveraging different forms and mediums of content, like for example through carousel posts, where you can delve into a little bit more detail to target your established audience, and understanding how to play that game. But the most important thing from what you're saying is the mentality. You know, it's all well and good having all these technical things, but you only learn those through just repetition, getting your reps in. The same as any sort of catch pass skill, the same as any skill in that sense. It's just reps on reps on reps, trial and error, having the mentality of just sticking in the fight, cracking on those same skills that you learn in rugby, I suppose, of just never give up, keep on pushing forwards, and dealing a lot of the time with potential, not necessarily criticism, but a bit of stick from the lads. I mean, that's a common theme from everyone I've spoken to on the pod, that you go through this rite of passage as a social media person where you start posting, and oftentimes it's easy to overcome when your heart's in the right place. As long as you're not doing it to be a knob, like if you're actually trying to help people and not making it all about you, but making it about other people, it's hard to give those kind of people a hard time. Although it's always a bit cringe when you post your first video, because it does seem a little bit about yourself. But overcoming that is a rite of passage. And once you get through that mentality, that's when you break the wall. That's when you start rolling down the hill on the other side and really start picking up speed and pushing forwards.
How does it feel with yourself? Like when I do my content, I'm retired. I'm majority of the time, 90% of the time, I'm on my own. So meaning I film on my own. I got no teammates around me, and I don't play anymore. So I don't get that feedback of posting. How are you? What do you feel about it with when you do your posting? You're in a team environment after. How's that go for you?
I think I was fortunate enough to come up around a good group of lads at Harpenden Rugby Club and at uni. So I went to Harpenden. That's where I really kicked on with the content in my placement year from university. And those lads got on board with it. There was no game day vlogs yet. I was just sort of slowly minding my own business. But then I got back to university where I was in my final year. And I think once you're in your final year, you're fortunate enough to be in a unique position at university where you're the oldest in the club. Like, it's not quite like club rugby where you get some 30-year-old blokes in there. I'm 23 years old and I'm the oldest person there. So you have that established kind of respect from people. And as I was growing, it's hard to hate on those sort of things, you know, like it's hard to hate. Like I went into England camp pretty much the same as yourself before the World Cup, and like who's going to hate on that? You know, it's not quite the same as when you first start out. And I got a lot of stick then. I was in pre-season at Loughborough my fresher year, so possibly the worst time to start talking to a camera. And in my very unique way, when you're learning how to speak to cameras, like, welcome back to Level Up Rugby. And everyone would have come up to me and go, level up rugby, level up. And I was like, oh my God, it's just classic like rugby banter. And you got to, like I said, you got to learn to deal with it, because if you don't, you don't deserve to have that platform if you can't deal with stick, because there's a whole lot more coming for you in the Facebook comment sections.
Yeah, you got to laugh at yourself. I knew it was funny.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can just be lighthearted like that and your heart's in the right place and the most important thing, then I think people are here for it. As long as you're not, stirring hate or just talking dross. Like, I think a lot of people would be a bit frustrated if I was just chatting a load of rubbish. But the lads loved it. Like the vlogs, I mean, I think they loved it. A few of the lads more than others, like being on the preamble of the vlogs I was doing, which really kicked off at uni, which is good fun. So I then went back to Harpenden and it was like already a thing. Like everyone was like, this is kind of cool. Like I'd love to get involved and help out. Like the club were great about me using the pitch and the facilities there. I haven't really faced anything too bad. I don't know whether it's just my
Amazing.
mentality of always looking for the positive in things, but it's, again, that rugby community, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think, are you going to go back to playing?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, I've already lined things up, man. I'm going back to, this is a press release. This is news to everyone coming back home. Yeah, breaking news. I'm returning to the UK to play for my home club. I'm returning back to the mighty Bournemouth Lions. Yeah, link back up with those because, London's a bit expensive whilst I'm chasing the rugby dream. So I thought, do the Mark Zuckerberg thing, move in with your parents. I'm a genius like that. You see, it's not just like living in my parents' basement. I swear, I promise it's not like that. It's, chasing the dream in that sense. Moving back to Bournemouth. And it's going to be interesting that you mentioned that because Bournemouth, the reason why I'm so excited to go back there, not only because it's my home club, but also they're so forward thinking. Like, I think with being surrounded by Bournemouth Sevens and Dodge Woodall, who's quite social media oriented around their marketing strategy for that. The club, obviously, Bournemouth Sevens is based at Chapel Gate, which is where Bournemouth play. So they're quite integrated with the social media strategy. They have a whole team for social media there. Like, it's a forward thinking club. So for me, I'm quite excited to actually integrate with those guys and hopefully bring something positive to them. But it's going to be interesting because I'll turn up to the first session and I wonder what kind of reception I'm going to get because I don't want to come across like a knob. Like, it's not who I am. I don't be that. Yeah, literally just like shoving that in people's faces. Level up, level up. But no, it's just like, I'm still a bloke who plays rugby. Like I'll get filled in a tackle. I'll get burned on the outside. I might land a kick here and there, but I'm just a normal person, I swear. Making it out like I'm
Just
some
a regular
celebrity.
guy.
It's just a normal guy.
I was actually speaking to someone about this, about the grassroots and how grassroots can make a little bit more money. And people like you, I was saying it to Max, actually, Max Brown. I was like, mate, have you, because obviously you get so many views with your vlogs. If I was a club, I'd be like, right, you can use the VO cameras, you can film everything, but then think how much eyes you get now on your YouTubes or whatever you do, and think about the partnerships around the outside, like the sponsorship.
Exactly.
They're getting incredible. They're getting incredible reach. Some specifically if they're using
genuine
proper
exposure.
cameras. Yeah. So instead of having £100 for the whole year for one of those things, you could actually you can sponsor each game and then change them each game or whatever and get a few views. And then obviously if the club and Max or club and you or whatever promote that, it's a really good way to get income into the club. It's just that brand exposure or business exposure from sponsorship.
Can you manage me, Ben? This is such a great idea. I've now got leverage. I can go to the club. And,
Yeah. Get a proposal together and be like, right, we can get a few brands here. Get some cool ones on board.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Sort of highlights the way that rugby's moving.
If you were getting 100,000 views or whatever, why would X person go to a higher club and spend a lot more money, whereas you're getting more views than them and they're getting their brand on show a lot more to the same eyes?
100%. And that's the way that rugby's moving, I suppose. And that ties us so beautifully. What a wonderful segue into the final section of this pod. We've been yapping away for so long here. But putting the rugby world to rights, mate, you're clearly such a forward thinker, especially around that social media piece. Like, you're right. It's interesting how the rugby world is evolving, especially through the evolution of social media itself and how the game is changing because of it. Talk me through the way you see it changing. From a social media and a coaching point of view, how do you see the game evolving? If you're a rugby player who's still in the gym doing the same old push, pull, legs split, feeling demotivated, guessing your workouts, or wondering why you're not getting any stronger, faster, or more explosive, if you find yourself starting a new plan every few weeks, falling off track, or not knowing how to train through a season without burning out, then Train Right Performance is built for you. Their rugby performance program runs 12 months months of the year, guiding you through the entirety of the season with real rugby-specific S&C. No more guesswork, just performance. Head to trainrightperformance.co.uk for all your S&C needs. That's train right with a W, performance.co.uk for all your S&C needs. Harry, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode of the Talking Ruggers podcast. Go check it out, guys. He is top of his field. Thank you for listening to this brief interruption. But without any further ado, let's get straight back into the episode.
Yeah, good question. So I'm looking at life in general to start with and having a look at the trends of life. And I think we've peaked now. This is my perception. We've peaked like the loneliest part of our society. We're out of COVID. We're a few years out. A lot of us work from home. A lot of us don't play sport because maybe we haven't gone back to playing sport. A lot of us stay in the house quite often. We don't go to team environment gyms or whatever. So our social community is at its worst. And I think it's going to be a big push, specifically with AI coming in now. I feel like community is going to come back. That's why you see the rise in run clubs. You see the rise in high rocks. It's all big communities. Obviously, CrossFit was something similar, but I feel like gyms now are transforming into community hubs. And I feel like to evolve rugby, as a kid, my community was my club. And I went there all the time. And big shout out to Chiswick. Chiswick's my local club now. And they're making steps now. They're making steps towards how can we get more people to this club and how to develop the site, how to get more people obviously in the clubhouse. And when you're in the clubhouse, you get inspired by, like I said, some of my heroes were people who played for the first team as a young kid. And that's how we inspire them, is getting them to the club so they get used to seeing these faces. So the question is, how do we get people back to the clubhouse? I would start with, I'm not sure how you think about it. I would start with, we should, obviously it's money driven, but 3:00 professional rugby games on a Saturday should not be allowed. There should be 5:00 and 8:00 in the nights. Because firstly, as a kid, I would watch my local team at 2:00. They would finish at 5:00, whatever, and then we'd be all in the clubhouse watching semi-professional rugby on TV, because in Wales that was on. And then in the night, then Swansea were playing Neath or something. That would be like a top-end game in the night, or Ospreys would be playing someone in the evening. And I think that's how we can firstly get that scheduling right. And obviously we can have a look at scheduling the whole rugby calendar as a world rugby, get everyone playing the same time, just to get the buzz and everyone aligned, but that's a different story. But as grassroots, can we sort out, firstly, don't have 3:00 kickoffs, because we want everyone to go to their club. Everyone go to their club, watch your local team. That is the only rugby that should be on at 2:00. What's your thoughts on that, to start with?
I love that, mate. That's a brilliant idea. We're really putting the rugby world to rights here, 100%. It's so frustrating as a rugby fan when I'm playing and the England game's on. I can't do both at the same time, and I want to support both. It's not like you're unaware of the fact that there's rugby on at 3:00 on a Saturday. And that's not like those games that are going to be the ones that get changed either, because not all the clubs in the world have these lights and facilities to put their games on into the evenings, but professionals do. That's actually wound me up. That's actually really frustrating me. Just move the games back, just a couple hours.
5:00. 5:00's the earliest one. Maybe later. Like France, all French games are in the night, and it's like a party vibe. It's dark, so all the lights are flashing. Professional rugby games should be 5:00 or later.
That's such a good point. And people talk so much about how the club game in France is thriving, and they get massive turnouts to just professional rugby games because perhaps there's just more people actually around to go to them. That's such an astute observation, Ben. Well done. That's a brilliant idea.
And then I would look at it then. So I have a lot of alone time on my own filming, so I have a lot of thinking time. So I was like, right, okay, so how do we, because I retired from rugby and I can't play full contact rugby anymore, but how can I get back up to the club, but also still do this thing I love? So how do we do that? And there's some people as well. How do we introduce new people to rugby that maybe don't want to do full contact because they don't want to risk their job, but they can still go up the club? So I was thinking, right, how do we, on a Saturday, how do we get more people up the club? to stay around and watch the first team play, because ultimately that's what we want to do. We want to build these rugby communities as the hub of the village or the town. So I came up with, can we have a 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock kickoff touch rugby, mixed touch, always always a mixed touch rugby league in your local club, 11 o'clock. You have a couple of games there. So I play tag rugby now. I absolutely love tag rugby because, firstly, it's not full contact. I can still play. I can enjoy it. It's mixed as well. It's boys and girls. So we all have great fun. It's a real good social, bringing everyone together. And some of those boys and girls are new to rugby actually play tag, and they're like, oh, actually, I do fancy playing some contact now. So they get stepped up into playing contact.
And pathway through.
Someone like me then has dropped down, and I still get to play rugby, and it's still competitive because it has, so it doesn't matter what game it is. It should be a non-contact, senior, touch rugby, tag rugby, T1, whatever it is, pre-game, 11 o'clock, Saturday morning, in your local club. And you can make your own teams. Like, we put a team in and we call it OJ Trainers or whatever. And we put a team in, we get all our mates together and we start that league. So you can have internal leagues in your club. Just get a few teams together. You play on a Saturday morning. And what happened then is you start, as you come off, you see the first team warming up and you're like, it's a nice day today. Oj, we'll hang around and watch this game. We'll have do you want a pint? Oh, and Ospreys are playing later as well. We'll watch them. Oh, what a day. So, and if you've got a partner as well to keep your wife happy, she can come and play touch rugby with you. So everyone's winning. So that is my
Sounds
brainstorm.
like heaven to me.
Right? That's my brainstorm. Obviously, it's just thinking of how we can get more people to the community whilst getting the ball in their hand. And then obviously Sunday then is Kids Day. It's where all the kids play. And obviously the women's game, women's will be alternative to when the men play. So when the men play home, the women play away, and then you vice versa, you flip it one weekend on Saturdays, because I think Saturdays should be adults rugby. And obviously, yeah, that's my thoughts.
I love it. And it's not at all what I was expecting either, because
what were you
I
thinking?
thought well, you're such a social media expert. I thought you'd have some master plan around finding ways of increasing engagement and blah blah blah, whatever else. But it's just gone straight back to your roots, straight back to your mission at the core of this all. It's getting the ball in your hands.
Yeah, I think that would be more inspiring. I think it's just feeling what it is to go up your community, meeting people, meeting those rugby community people, getting that. You can have, like, obviously you talk a lot about analysis and chat. Like, as a kid, I used to sit there and listen to my dad and his mates talking absolute nonsense about the game that was just on the pitch. So it's just like, those are the type of chat, and you just get inspired by being and soaking up that environment, rather than, because the majority of the time I've learned this myself. I used to listen to loads of podcasts. I try to read as many books as I can. It used to take me ages, by the way. But read as many, but whatever. I used to try and do loads. But in the end, I realized I wasn't soaking that information up because it was too much information. And I think sometimes social media has too much information. It's very overwhelming.
Saturation, yeah.
Yeah, going up the rugby club and just playing, you'll feel way better. Just spending an hour up a club, you'll get more sense of what the rugby community is like, rather than flicking through my videos. Yeah, so so don't watch my videos, go up a club.
You're really disselling your service here. But you're right. I suppose it's a broader societal issue around phone addiction in particular. And I think I always try and give myself a positive blessing of, like, no, I'm trying to help people. Like, it's educational. It's not just brain rot, bin juice, horrible stuff. Like, I'm trying to actually help people. But you're right. Building the club up again. That's exactly what happened in episode 1 when I was talking to Bump for Vintage, Duncan Wood. He was like, said the same thing in a different way around building the club atmosphere. But this is a very practical way of actually making it a whole occasion, a Saturday of rugby. And since I've been out in Australia, I've been playing Aussie rules football, which has been great for the skills, by the way, real fun. But they do it really well because they do it quite like that, where it'll all just be on Saturday. Both men's football and women's netball, both the netball and the football club will go to the exact same place because there's no promotion and relegation in the leagues that I'm in out in the countryside. So every time they can always just end up going to the same place on the same schedule, and everyone will kick off or centre bounce or whatever else it is in footy, like at about 2-hour intervals. So the 16s will start earlier in the morning, then the will play, then me and the Mighty Twos would rock up at around 2-3 o'clock and play. And then the ones would finish off in the afternoon and be the centerpiece of everything else. And the same in the netball. It'd be D grade all the way through to A grade, all like slowly tipping off throughout the course of the day. And it makes a whole occasion where families turn up, people bring their dogs. There's a whole barbecue going on, of course, in Australia. Everyone's having beers, of course, it's Australia. And of course, the weather helps because it makes it an occasion of it, because for the most part, they'll have a fire on, but the sun will be out. And it just makes the atmosphere what it used to be before everyone got sucked into watching things on their phones.
Yeah. Obviously, the phone side is, it is what it is. You can get addicted, but also it can be very, very helpful and inspiring and
it's how you use it.
So it's fun. It's how you use it. But exactly that. Like when I went to Sydney for the Lions, I went to watch East Rugby against Randwick.
Yeah.
Oh, what a day. Exactly that. They had early kickoffs all the way through, and then at 8 o'clock then the Lions played. And it was obviously everyone was there. By the last game, by the seniors game, I think it was like 5 o'clock. Must have been hundreds and hundreds of people there, stayed, watched the game. Again, obviously the weather helps, but that's why.
Yeah.
Do you look at the community game in the UK and just be like, well, okay, by Christmas or maybe halfway through December, we'll stop playing rugby now all the way until February, and then when the Six Nations is on, you want to get inspired to go and play rugby. Whereas, like community rugby, maybe you should have a little break in between.
Said the exact same thing last week with Jake Collie-Davies. He said the same thing from an S&C point of view, giving people a rest period, where typically it's freezing cold. You're picking up fatigue-based injuries from a prolonged season. If there was just a time over the course of winter where I think, honestly, everyone would actually enjoy a bit of time off. I think by that point, everyone's hating on rugby in the changing rooms on a Tuesday night. They're like, oh, why are we here? It's tipping it down with rain. It's freezing cold. You do it because you love the game and you love the boys. But if there was not even too long, maybe 3-4 week little rest period, and you can still get around each other at the club. You can still do some S&C. You can still find other ways of staying fit around that time of year where people are typically eating quite a lot. Probably a good thing to do. But staying around things, and then you get into the nicer weather, and it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows, but it's going to be a little bit better than the bleak midwinter in the UK.
Yeah, and if you think for adults feel like that, I think what kids feel like going to training in January.
Yeah, goodness,
no chance. Gosh, yeah. I know obviously we did it as kids, but it feels wetter and colder these days than we were younger.
Yeah,
it seems worse.
Freezing cold mornings.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest driver for rugby is how do we build the community again? How do we get people going back to the club? And I think that is a big thing I'd like to start looking more into, because I think in life in general, society in general, I think in the UK, I think they're going to hopefully go back to how do we drive community more. And that's something I've been looking at with the Rugby Trainer, is how I build, instead of being an educational platform, how can I build community? How can I get people feeling like they belong with like-minded people with the same interests, whether that is online or in person, is something I've been looking, because I feel like that's the way, specifically the health and wellness world is going to go. Because in London, obviously London is a couple of years ahead of a lot of the parts of the UK, because then it trickles down everywhere else. And like, I play in the Tag Rugby League, and we just put a team together and we chuck it in. And it's the same with everything now. There's mixed netball, there's mixed fitness events. And I think mixed is such a good way to bring community together. Anything that's non-contact, a team of you all together, playing one another. It's competitive, it's fun, and it's also, it just brings a lot of people together. I think it's a good way of going.
Hoorah. I am so with you on that. So unbelievably with you. That's a brilliant way of looking at things. And I remember when I was at uni, I tried starting a run club for rugby, essentially. I called it the Sunday Skills Club. And it lasted for all of 4 weeks, because as things do on a Sunday, you're usually pretty hanging, university at least. And that was a kind of incentive for lads, was like, okay, rather than hanging on a Sunday morning, let's get out and amongst it and start chucking a pill around, and like offering some coaching to some people who wanted it. And you fired me up, man. I reckon I could get that back started when I get back home, because that's a brilliant idea. And we had some good coaching tips along that process. And I feel like if there are people still here listening to us nosing away at all these Ds of the rugby, I feel like we should at least give them something more back. And we have one of the best coaches in the world here from a social media stance in terms of really clipping it down into some short tips, mate. So Quickfire, for those people who are still stuck around till the end of the episode, let's give them something back, mate. Let's go from the point of view first and foremost, we were discussing earlier around the movement in social media towards parents. What's your one bit of advice you'd give to a parent who's trying to help their kid get better at rugby and enjoy the game more?
So on my academy, a lot of advice I give parents is don't make the activities, if they want to get better at rugby and they're doing the things on their own, don't make them so structured. Just make them have the kid be able to drive it. So you take the kid outside and just ask what they want to do. Do they want to do some catching? Do they want to do some footwork? Do they just want to play and make a game out of it? Because make it competitive. All the things that I do with my skills, doesn't matter if you're a kid or an adult, is because skills can get monotonous. You can just, your mind drifts off. But if I introduce a little game, a little skills game between me and you, if you're in, then you are in. Kids just want to play games. So even though you're doing skills, make a game out of it. How can you be creative, make a game, and if they make a mistake, don't worry, just get them playing. They just want to get touches on the ball and have fun. And what happens then is they build habits of being outside and playing at this time. And then as they get older, you can start driving the skills. But the main thing is touches, getting outside, touches of the ball.
That's something you do so well. I can't believe how creative, inventive, ingenuitive you are with the drills that you come up with. Like the best example being that Mario Kart tackle shield, like body position game. Like, what a brilliant, I saw that and I was gobsmacked from a coaching point of view. I was like, that is a brilliant way, as we discussed earlier, how rugby is so full of so many different skills where you don't actually have to learn specifically one side of things. I was talking to Kurt's Code last week around teaching rugby in places like Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, where he goes to these remote parts of the world, doesn't even speak the language, but people understand bulldog, you know, the idea of evading people.
Game.
Yeah, exactly. And it teaches that management of space. It teaches tackle technique if you go contact on that level. And it's nothing to do with, well, it is everything and nothing to do with rugby. It's a game at the end of the day, but you create those little micro games that make things so fun for people.
Yeah, I think the best way to learn is to do it in a competitive scenario, for me anyway. Like British Bulldogs, I'm going to say British Bulldogs helped me massively with my footwork before contact, because we used to play British Bulldogs down the park and it was all ages, obviously not blokes, but all ages around the same, like you're older, you're younger type of thing. And yeah, it was a big lineup of us and we used to play British Bulldogs all the time. And if you haven't got footwork, you are getting ended. Because we used to play in a patch of land, all right, that had flower beds and then like rose beds. So if you fell into the rose beds, you were getting stung. So you had to use your footwork to jump over, get around. It's kind of good little obstacles. God. It was good. But that's how you learn to tackle, and that's how you learn to use your footwork, is avoid the defenders, and the defenders got to catch you. It's good fun.
Yeah, too right. And you mentioned footwork and tackling there. What's the most important skills you'd say for young players to work on consistently?
So I would say the most important skill a player can develop sounds a bit obscure, but getting better at learning, which means doing more.
A coach's answer that.
Yeah, coach's answer. And that is just getting out and just trying things. And if you mess up, don't worry. Just keep going, keep practicing. If you I don't know, mess up a pass in a game, don't worry, keep practicing your passing and just get better and better at getting that loop of feedback, trying what went well, what went wrong, how to fix it. That full circle. Yeah, just get better at learning. And like, it does take a long time. Like, I'm starting now to understand how I get better at learning and how I like to do things. So that obviously that's in his skill itself. What is the best skill to learn? I try to drive because I love the individual side. And this is probably not a fact, but I always tell kids 99% of the game, you haven't got the ball in your hand. So what you can do to influence the game, and there's three things. It's scan, move, communicate. Every player needs to be good at doing that. Scan, move, communicate, because the ball isn't in your hand. And then if you can do that well, you can influence the game. So I try to drum that into any individual player that I coach. Scan, move, communicate. What are you doing here? What are you seeing here? How are you communicating it? How are you organizing people? So yeah, that's probably the skill I would say.
Mental skills, most importantly. Yeah, there's those functional things around hand-eye coordination and movement, which are a lot of the stuff we've covered so far. But yeah, the most valuable skill is the art of learning skills, because then you can have all of them. There's no one that's more important than the other if you can learn them all. But yeah, definitely understanding the way that you can always be contributing. Whenever I am in a team talk before a game and I get the honor of speaking to anyone, I just tell everyone you're always contributing. It's either positive or negative. It's never neutral. You can always be doing something to help out, whether that's communicating, whether that's moving, whatever it may be. Don't think that you're not doing something, because you always are. And if you can learn how you can always positively contribute, you're going to find yourself moving a lot further on in your career.
Yeah, there's a few books and podcasts I have listened to, which when I say listen to, I mean I go back to them quite often. Guy called Trevor Rhaegar, The Learner Lab. It's really good. If you haven't heard he's got an audio book out, really good about how you can get better at learning. That's good. The Art of Learning. So that's a really good book that I'm currently reading. And there is another book, You Are Awesome by Matthew Said. Very good. It's aimed for kids, but it's really good as an adult or a parent to read it, because you understand how you should communicate with your kids and how they can get better at learning and get better at building confidence. So most of my books are about how I can get kids to be better at learning and how I can get better at learning. So that's probably a passion of mine, of anything educational side of reading and podcast now, is just that side of it, is how do I get better at learning?
A very important skill. And then we'll finish up with one more question, as we're really firing into this, going to the depths today. What is both your best bit of advice for someone, like we're saying, who's trying to go pro, or for want of a better word, let's say just improve at their rugby beyond just that learning piece? And what's the most common mistake you see people making? So really pulling here from your rugby playing career as a professional yourself, what was the one thing that you think really pushed you forwards, and what was the mistake you see a lot of people making nowadays?
So the one thing I would say that helped me is two things, sorry. Is obviously working on my own game, but also being around a group of people that are a high level as well. Like I said, my friendship group were very high level at any sport. So it would be very competitive, and wanting to win in those environments as well. Even though we're best mates, we're pushing each other. We used to spend loads of time down the cricket nets, and every ball I'm trying to get them out. So same with the rugby, is who you hang around with. It's obviously a cliche phrase, is you are the 5 people you spend most time with. So if you spend time with 4 or 5 really good rugby players, and you're with them all the time, and you're practicing, you got like a little core collective, and you're practicing regularly in school or whatever, and you're pushing each other, being competitive, I think that obviously helps. And then also, obviously, we all have dreams to be a professional rugby player. Well, a majority of people have dreams. It's about what you're doing now. Just play well now. Just focus on what you're doing now. And if you're playing well now, and you keep doing that, and then you move up to the next level and you still play well, then it's going to be hard for you to get overlooked, or you'll make your way up as high as you possibly can. It's just about your performance now. Just keep playing well. Obviously everyone says enjoying it, but when you play well, you enjoy. Yeah, that learning, and have a group of mates around you that can challenge, push you, and also support you. And then obviously there's a lot of luck as well. There's a lot of luck, but having those core
that is a catalyst for success, without a shadow of a doubt. And essentially, the opposite of that is what you shouldn't do. Don't surround yourself with negatively influencing people. Don't assume that you're better than everyone else. Always keep looking to learn. And yeah, people pushing on forwards, mate. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you whenever we get those rare occasions when we find ourselves in a similar location. I'm looking forward to plenty more occasions of doing that. If there are people who are still here, an hour and 40 minutes into it, thank you guys so much for still listening. You are a top Norse, much the same as me and Ben. How can they help you, Ben? How can these top Norses who are still listening help you with your business?
Well, how can they help me? Firstly, just sharing my videos, and also just let me know how they've helped and what you need help with, because I do a lot of my content based on what you say you find an issue and be detailed with the issue as well. If you can't pass off your left hand, tell me why. Tell as much information as you can, because if one person says that, 1,000 people have probably got the same issue. So I use a lot of that feedback to plan my content.
Help yourselves is essentially the answer. That's how you help Ben here. All he wants to do is help you. So make sure you go and check him out at the Rugby Trainer on all platforms. If you do enjoy this episode, then please head down below, drop a like, drop a comment on who you might want to see next. Ben, who would you want to see next on the pod?
Oh, we've got to get Archie Curzon on, mate. Get him on.
Oh God, I don't know if I could do that. Jeez, that would be a top. That'd be nausea, or that would be nauseating.
Yeah. Nah, he's good. He's that character he plays is incredible. So he's a great guy. But yeah,
it's so funny to see him.
Yeah, and also Amy as well. Rugby with Amy, she'd be class. She's super clever, doing really well. And what she's doing is cool. So I think she'd be a cool guest as well. Is she on the list?
Equally as fascinating. She sure is on that list of 100. They both are, funnily enough. Yeah, that list of 115 people, we are ticking our way through. I met Archie Curzon in Paris at the World Cup opener, and he then went down on the same train I was on down to Marseille. But when I met him in Paris, he was blind for... I won't disclose any more details than that. He was just very merry, let's say, but he still was very much in character when he realised you knew who he was, which is great. And yeah, Amy is equally as interested, just in such a different way. So she's very much up on my list of people to chat with, especially with this boom in social media marketing. Like, I know that she's in and around Saracens as well, who are doing such a good job with things, and she is a genius when it comes to social media strategy. So that's definitely up there.
Yeah, I also like talking to Victoria as well. She's great. I like to listen to her plans in the future, because she has a different point of view on things as well, and how to grow the game, which is cool. And I love, every time I see her, we always have a catch up. I was like, "Oh, what are you up to now? What are you doing?"
Yeah,
she's awesome.
And she does some real interesting things. I mean, kicking things off with that first documentary is a real interesting way into the sport. And yeah, they approach things differently. They have a different mindset, and that's the kind of approach that we need to have a lot of the time. So brilliant suggestions, mate. What a brilliant episode.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was class.
Thank you all so much for listening on. I hope you have a lovely week and go well this weekend. And we'll catch up again next Tuesday on your commute to training. This will be a long old commute. If you are still listening, you probably sat in the car park missing training, which I don't blame you on a wet Tuesday. So I'll see you next time, guys. I hope you have a lovely one. See you next time, Ben.
Bye-bye. Cheers, man. Take care.